Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome. I am Pastor Guy, and this is Pastor's Corner. For those of you who might be new to the corner, I'm Guy Watley, and welcome to my corner of the internet. A place where we get together once a week and encourage the believer on how to be in the world, but not of the world. If you like what you hear, please follow us. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube. Share us with your friends and family. Get the word out as we continue to spread the good news. You can also find us on Sunday mornings at 10:30. We live stream our Sunday morning services, Lord willing. So anyway, welcome. We're glad you're here this morning. Change. It is a new year, and with New Year's come lots of change, but change is constantly happening around us. It always has been, but it does seem to maybe go in spurts as we see the world changing around us. I know, looking at my lifetime, a lot has changed since I was a little kid, and now an adult, we'll say. But there has been a lot of change, but it certainly seems to me that we see big, significant chunks of change, things that are out of the norm for us, that usually took a while and just sort of evolved over time. Buildings going up, skyscrapers, roads going in. You kind of see it in bits and pieces, and it doesn't impact you as much. And then you look back and you go, man, this place has changed a lot, or this has changed a lot. And our society is definitely at least in the Western world and in America, in a huge shift, if you will, of culture, the way people see the world, the way we view things and understand things, what we deem to be right and wrong. All of this, which used to be a given, is no longer a given. It is no longer a societal norm. And you could run into somebody anywhere that does not view the world at all the way you do. And so, much more so than it has been in the past. I think that's what I wake up to. And so, you might be, well, what kicked this off? And just seeing things around us that happen, and trying to make sense of it, trying to, apply it from a biblical perspective, and understanding that it certainly is easy to build up anxiety, to build up worry as we look at things. Looking at our bills, even food bills, how much they've gone up, in the past couple of years is dramatic. And prices at the pump, they go up, they come down a little bit, and they're still high, very, very high from what they were and what we're used to. And so trying to absorb that when we look around and we see minimum wage, in the high teens, and what people are offering for first-time workers, and you wonder why you can't go into McDonald's alone and not spend $10, $15 maybe, and take a family. It's a $60 bill. And this is fast food. It was always supposed to be easy on the pocketbook. It's not. And we are definitely in trying times. We are definitely in times You know, there, we could call it sticker shock, but we see it in the culture as well and in the people around us, and how we view things right or wrong. I mean, look at the caucus in Iowa and how that played out. And, you know, just watching and seeing the things that people say, it we see that, man, that wouldn't have happened years ago, 5 years, 10, 15 years. So it can cause us to wonder and to worry, you know, what's going on? What will tomorrow bring? You know, when's the next shoe going to drop? And, you know, this morning I woke up to the news that Kelly Moore, and many of you, you know, if you've lived on the West Coast anyway, Kelly Moore Paint, they abruptly closed 150, something like that, over 100 and something stores overnight, over 700 people laid off, with no notice. Nobody saw it coming as the interviews played out this morning, didn't know it was happening. And so now you have 700 families. They don't know about retirement. They don't know about their investment, what's going on. They're out of a job. And we have seen this in the past. It's not that this is new, but it certainly seems like in the past there was more warning. There was more, you know, these things aren't going well. I remember Pay and Pack and Ernst Hardware, you know, when those stores went under or disappeared or were gobbled up by somebody else. It was a process. It didn't seem like it was just an overnight, we're done. And on that kind of scale. But you see how the economy, as drastic as things have been, really are impacting people. And so when we, you know, look at from a Christian perspective, you know, and we look worldwide and we, you know, see the wars in Israel and in Africa and, you know, all across the globe, and we see the influx of people who are so desperate to get out of whatever situation they are in that they are willing to walk 1,000 miles to get to the United States of America. And here we sit going, how are we going to integrate all of these people? What's that going to look like? And when we're overwhelmed with homelessness, before this influx began, and so what, you know, what are border states to do? And so they did what they thought they needed to do. They started busing people to places like Chicago and New York. And then this cold front comes in. And now you have all these people. I laugh, but it's like our leadership is checked out and doesn't care. What are we supposed to do? These people are desperate from where they live, and they come here, and that desperate situation doesn't necessarily change. They get free food, free clothing, free housing, free Obama phones, whatever it might be, but the reality is still the reality. And so from out of the frying pan into the fire for some of them, the sex trafficking that goes on at the border, the drugs that are coming in, you know, it's a crazy place right now, and I don't think it's going to get any better. I think that, in fact, it's going to get worse. It is going to, the pressures are going to begin to crush those that thought they were in a stable existence, like somebody working at Kelly Moore Paints. You know, yesterday, today's Wednesday, so Monday morning they got up, it was a holiday, the store might have been closed, maybe it wasn't. If they went into work, everything was normal. Yesterday they went into work, a normal day, and they wake up this morning and they don't have a job. and there's no place to go. The door's locked. There's a sign on the door, closed permanently. Sorry. I think those kinds of things are going to continue to happen. There's going to be less and less of those menial jobs out there because there's more and more people. And we are in for a different time. So what do we do as Christians? Where does that leave us? And, Matthew chapter 6 talks about it a little bit. And I'm just going to read a couple of verses here. Matthew writes in Matthew 6, he says, let's back up to 19. He says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasure on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasure in heaven, where moth and rust do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And then he jumps down and he says, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more important than food, and the body more important than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to your life? Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." There's a lot to unpack there, but I just want to, grab a couple of things. And I know for me, it's hard to not look ahead, to not look down the road. And Jesus doesn't want us doing that. That doesn't mean we don't plan, right? We plot our course, but God does what? He directs our steps. He engages with us when? In the here and now. And so he wants us to be focused on the here and now, rather than worrying about tomorrow, the next day, the next week. We wake up and, okay, Lord, what do you have for me today? What do you have for me this morning? How's that going to play out? Is your plan the same as my plan? And not worrying when things aren't going to go the way we thought they were going to go. Because I'm here to tell you that is going to happen more often than not, I think, that our plans are thwarted because of outside circumstance, things that we can't control. Whether it be the weather, we're in the midst of this super cold front. The locals around here have said they've never seen it this cold for this long. Usually when it gets below zero in Condon, it's a day, and it warms up during the day. And then the next night it might be cold again, and then it warms up and then it's done, and we're back in the 20s or whatever. But that hasn't happened this year for whatever reason, and probably because I drive an ICE vehicle. Who knows? But ICE meaning internal combustion engine, not cold. So anyway, here we are with things constantly changing around us, and I think at a much more rapid pace and more extreme pace, that things will be to the extremes more than they ever have been. And I think that's where we need to buckle up as Christians. And that's where we need to come back and camp on passages like Matthew 6 and say, God has this. And and here's the best part. God has the world and the things that are going on. But more importantly, he has you. As you trust in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, as you put your faith and your hope and your love in him, he has you, regardless of what's going on in the world around us. And he will never let you go. Because after all, are you not much more valuable than the birds of the air? I'm Pastor Guy Watley, and this has been Pastor's Corner. Stay warm if you're in the midst of the frozen tundra, and be safe out there, and God bless, and I will see you on Sunday, Lord willing, at 10:30 Pacific. You have a wonderful day in the Lord. Rejoice. And again I say rejoice.